What is the best time of year to buy or sell a property in Fort Lauderdale? Here's the thesis. More single-family homes are sold during the summer months because that's when school is out and people who are moving from one single-family home to another single-family home are often doing so to switch school districts. More condos are sold during the winter months because that's when all the snowbirds are down here. When is the worst time to sell a single-family home, condo, or townhome? During the holidays. Why? Because everyone's thinking about the holidays. Nobody's out shopping for homes. So what does the data actually say? My name is Casey Prindle. I'm a real estate agent that works in and around the Fort Lauderdale area. If you're thinking about buying or selling a property down here, I'd love to talk to you. If you're considering a move today, tomorrow, or 6 months from now, let's start the conversation now. Feel free to call, text, or email me. Let me help you open or close the latest chapter in your life. All right, let's turn this around and do a screen share. All right, let's pull up the single family home data first. And I think the most logical way to do this will be to start with the lows. A low number of sales is probably going to mean you don't want to be on market at that time because there's the fewest number of buyers around. So anyways, let's look here. So January of 2019, we see a low. 2020. January of 2020, April, May all look to be lows. 2021, I'd say January again. October shows up as a low here. January 2022 looks like the year starts out as low, but look, we get much worse. So I'd say kind of October, November, December, we're all pretty bad for 2022. And then here we are this year. Yeah, January, February of this year look pretty rough. So every year it looks like January showed up as the weakest months for single-family home sales. That showed up every year. So I'd say January is probably your roughest or weakest sales month for single-family home sales in Fort Lauderdale. And why does that kind of make sense? If you go along with the thesis that I presented, so sales are going to happen 30 to 45 days after a contract's in place. And then you have to back off another 30 days for marketing timing. So that means fewer buyers entered into contracts, let's say in November and December, pretty much a month before that too, say October, November, December, for the few number of closings that showed up in January and then kind of followed by February. So I think that fits with the holiday thesis by basically saying, look, if fewer number of people are entering into contracts in, call it late October, November, December, that tracks, right? Because it means that buyers are doing something else. So who's that good for? Honestly, it's good for a buyer. A buyer should look at this data and say, okay, well, if I write an offer in November and December, it's likely that a seller is not seeing other offers, so that's good for me. Let's look at the other side of the coin, though. Let's look at the highs. April, May, June, July, all look to be highs in 2019. 2020. Here we start to see some September, October, December. So those seem to be the strongest months. In 2021, March, June seem to be the peaks, right? 2022, March, April, May, all look strong. 2023, March, probably looks like we peaked there in March. So if we kind of do a count of the highs that we just went through, March shows up 4 times, April twice, May twice, June twice. So I think generally you could say it was likely that the best time to list, if you had to pick a single month for a single family home in Fort Lauderdale, would be January or February with a stretch into March or early May. Again, we're assuming 30 days marketing timing, 30 to 45 days to close. So if you back that off, the January and February listings likely led to the March-April sales. And I think there's logic there. Not along the school swapping theory, which is what you normally see show up in single families. But I think this tracks for the snowbird theory. I think it shows that more buyers came around in January and February. Now, look, I don't really think that you can say that there's a bad month to list your home except during the holiday months, which I often dissuade people from listing their homes in November and December. I'm 100% guilty of it. Now looking at the data, I'm glad that I was using that even though it was anecdotal and I hadn't really done this. I think that was sound advice. You see no highs in January or February, but I think it shows the Fort Lauderdale single family home market is a bit less affected by the seasonality of, likely switching homes during the summer months, which in a lot of other regions you see the most number of single family home sales occur during the summer months. Here, it doesn't look like we have that. Here, it genuinely looks like you want to play into the theory of the snowbird. So let's switch the data up and look at condos, townhomes. So again, let's start out looking at the bad times to list, or when I think you wouldn't want to list. So we show January and February just about tied for the lows. Go over to 2020. Oops, here we are again. January. April, May look pretty bad. Let's see. 2021, January again, looks like a low. Probably say February also for the low for the year. Stretch to September, even though it's a bit above those others. 2022, here we are again. January, call it February is the other low. July, August look lows. And 2023, there we go. January, February, again showing up as the lows. So once again, I think we see the weakest sales occurring the most number of times in January, February, which again tracks with our holiday thesis. So I think I think we can conclude that that's pretty logical. Switching over to the highs. So when is the good time to have your house on market? So March, April, May in 2019, most amount of sales there. 2020, here we go, March. October, November, December, all kind of climbs up for 2020. 2021. April, June, 2022, kind of click over, March, say April and May, before we slid down here for the rest of the year. And here we kind of have more showings, March, April for 2023, but anyway, so if you kind of total up the number that we showed up repeatedly, March, April, May showed up repeatedly. So would you say the thesis kind of panned out? Partially. I think in both single family homes and condos, the months with the highest number of closings were March, April, May. So it looks like there's data to support the idea that the best months to list your home will be January, February, and into March to catch that second home or snowbird market, which shows up in both single family and condos as the strongest months. Don't forget the other side of the coin. Buyers, if you want to go shopping, 45 to 60 days before the low months, that's when I'd start submitting offers. That's when fewer people are making offers, which again is the holiday season. So I think both buyers and sellers can use this and maybe tilt the market a little bit in their favor or help with the odds. Seasonality plays a role. And if you come to me and say, should I list in the beginning of the year or should I list in the summertime? Based on this data, what do you think I'm going to tell you? It's going to be the beginning of the year, right? It's probably going to be the best time. If you put your house up in the summertime, you're going to have more headwinds than if you did it in the beginning of the year. So I don't want to get caught up in the minutia of this. This isn't hard and fast. This is just kind of something that I think should factor into your overall decision. I think you want to look at the seasonality of whatever area it is that you're looking at buying and selling and seeing when the most sales happen and when the fewest sales happen to, again, tilt the odds in your favor. So if you think about buying or selling a single-family home, condo, or townhome in Fort Lauderdale, call, text, or email me. I hope you got something out of this.